Your mother forged your name to a lease,
Yes, Your Honor.
and then you breached the lease.
Yeah,
There was also property damage.
but that's because of the vandalism.
Did you vandalize the property?
I was stressed out.
You're an adult. The whole thing is kind of stuck with a bill, and your credit score has been negatively impacted,
Yes, Your Honor.
that you had no knowledge of this lease, that you were signatory to the lease,
Yes.
and that you want to be able to clear this from your credit score.
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. You're now,
21.
this lease was signed when you were how old?
17 years old.
And how do you know that?
When I went to check my credit report, it had the date, which was around 2021, edging into 2022, the end of 2021.
You went and checked your credit score. Where were you living when you were 17?
I was actually staying with my witness, my brother, and...
Okay, so you were living with your brother?
Yes.
How old were you when you went to live with your brother?
17.
How long did you live with your brother?
It was over the course of a year, but I was in and out of his house, of friends, and my aunts for about a year, so.
Where do you get your mail?
Usually most of my mail gets sent to the old address that I previously lived at with her. Most of the time I'd have to pick it up from like UPS or a carrier. If
If it gets sent to your mother's address where you were living, where the lease was,
yeah,
you had to go there to pick up your mail.
right, because it would get...
Just a second.
Sorry.
You had to go there to pick up your mail.
Okay.
Okay. Now, at some point, Mr. Jones, you were notified, not by checking your score, but you were notified that this judgment was against you. How were you notified? Let me see the letter.
I never got a letter of a notification. I wasn't notified of the judgment until I checked my credit. I had no inclination of
Okay.
it.
Let me see the letter that you received.
Yeah. This would be the entire...
No, don't.
Sorry.
You know how old I am.
I get it.
Just show me what I asked for.
Okay.
The letter that you got indicating how much money you owed after you checked your credit score.
Okay. These 2 pages would be it.
Okay. Now, do you have a copy of the lease? That's a simple thing. That's what you should have, a copy of the lease.
No.
Do you have a copy of the lease?
Yes.
Did you get a copy of the lease? I'd like to see
Yes.
it, please.
Here's the lease.
What's your date of birth, sir?
2003.
This lease began December 1st, 2022.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's start with, it's true that you were living in this address, and you were living there shortly after you were released from prison.
Yes,
How long were you in prison?
8 years.
In what month and year were you released?
2021, July 2021.
Where did you live immediately after your release? Were you in a halfway house?
Yeah, for a couple months.
I want you to tell me the circumstances. You tell me the circumstances surrounding your son signing this lease, because that's what you allege.
Yeah,
Look at me. Don't look there.
Okay.
Right here.
So,
We're in prison for 8 years. Your children took care of themselves. He was a young teenager when you went to
Yes.
prison. You get out of prison, you go to a halfway house. You probably had some sort of a job, because you're supposed to have some sort of a job.
yeah, and I saved money to
Oh,
get
okay.
an apartment.
Great. I want you to look at me and tell me the circumstances surrounding your son signing the lease.
So I asked him to help me because I couldn't do it on my own.
How old was he when you asked him to help you?
He was going on 18 or 18.
Well, was he
And-
17 or 18?
I think he was
17 or
17. Okay, he was 17. And I asked him if he would help me because,
Okay, you understand that at 17, he cannot sign a contract. You were 17 at the
Yes.
time.
and I asked him if he would help me because considering I raised him and 3 children on my own prior.
You didn't raise him. You were in jail for 8 years. If you got out when he was 17, you went into jail when he was 9 years old. Who raised him?
My sister.
Okay, well, that's your sister raised him.
So I asked him to help me, and he said he would. And so, because I couldn't do it on my own, and he said he would help me
Well, you have an older son. Why did you ask your older son?
because we didn't get along. because I didn't raise him. So
You didn't raise him either, but he was a kid. He was only 17. He can't even
but
enter
Sorrel
into a
was nicer.
contract.
Sorrel got along with me better when I got out than the other two. So
I mean,
asked
you
him to
knew
help
he
me,
was
and
17.
He said he would help.
You knew he was 17.
Yeah, a lease over like electronic, and I signed it with my name, and then I asked him to sign it with his name, and he signed it.
Electronically, how?
Because
Let's go. Electronically, how? It came to you on your tablet or whatever, and you do that sign thing that she helps me with?
yeah,
Because I'm unable to do it myself.
and he
And he was there.
Yeah.
He was there and he signed it electronically. You know, you can't even tell me that story with a straight face. In any event, so now you have a 17-year-old son who you haven't raised, who you've gotten involved in a scam, and then you breached the lease, and as a result of breaching the lease, you were served with a copy of the default judgment because it says you were. It says that you pled guilty telephonically, which means somebody called you because it was probably during COVID or whatever, and they were doing these things telephonically, and it was easy. You said, I plead guilty.
yeah, and so
Great. How much money did you pay them back?
Pay who?
The landlord.
No, I already paid rent up to 11 months. And then on the last month, I couldn't pay it because I didn't have the funds. And so then I had talked to the judge, and I asked the judge if he could give me a little time, but it wasn't enough time. And so I left from there, and that's what happened.
Why don't you have a seat for a moment, please? You have your driver's license with you?
Yes.
May I have it, please?
Yes.
Well, I should say something because, like, I keep all my children's information and things like that. And so I might have used it when I was, like, filling out the application, just some copies. So I just wanted to say that.
I understand that.
But with his permission, though.
It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah,
if he
he
was
gave me
17 years old, my dear, if he was 17
But he
years
knew
old,
that
he
I
is
was having a hard
unable.
time.
He is unable to sign a contract, a
He
binding
knew I was
contract.
having a hard time. And
I don't care what he
I'm
knew.
doing 8 years in prison.
I don't care what he knew. If he's 17 years old, he's unable to sign a contract. And
Yeah.
I'm going to go and see if I can save you some trouble, sir. See if I can have a conversation with this law firm. Have them look at the papers.
I got into it with the law firm because they were trying to say that about his age, and I was telling them that
I knew this was going to get better. So you called the law firm and you said, he can't be held responsible. He was only 17.
yeah, and I said, then you need to take him off.
And
And they didn't do it. And I said, but that's not right. That I should
just
only
a
be
second.
responsible.
So you did have a conversation with someone at the law firm.
I did,
Tell me who you had a conversation with.
with the guy that's over the law firm that runs the law.
Name.
I can't remember his name, but I know he's the one. I said, Sorrel allowed me to do it, and that his name needs to come off of there.
Because he was only 17.
Yes.
Okay, good. Could you stand up?
Yeah.
Okay. The judgment, $3,805. Is that correct?
The judgment on my credit?
Yeah.
No, the judgment should have been for $9,980.
Can I see that, please? Because all I have
Yes.
here
I
is,
think that's the non-payment of rent.
Yes, because there was also property damage.
I don't see that.
Well, I have pictures.
No, I don't want to see pictures.
Sorry.
I want to see, this is the only letter that I have.
Okay.
That indicates that the amount of $3,805 was entered as a judgment. Do you have any other
Yeah.
documentation that the judgment was more extensive than that?
Yes, I have the credit check with the judgment on there.
This doesn't do anything for me.
Okay.
This doesn't do anything for me. This is the only thing that says that this is what this law firm is trying to collect from you on this matter, which is $3,805. I don't know what else you have with your mother.
This is the balance that they put with the entire judgment with this.
Did you negotiate a lower rate with them?
No, well, I tried to, but couldn't pay it, so.
Okay, Sarah, call them and tell them they're going to be happy because on behalf of their client, they're going to get this amount. just want to make sure that that's the amount of the judgment. Would you do that for me?
Sure. Could I see his driver's license, too?
Yeah. While Sarah's making that call, when did you decide to start getting involved and start doing the right thing with regard to your child?
After this whole situation.
Well, when? What whole situation?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, you moved out of the apartment and you didn't pay the last month's rent, and the landlord must have sent you communication, which you received. And when the case went to court, you called in telephonically
Yeah, because
and
I was-
pled guilty.
Yeah.
To what?
Owing the money.
Owing what money?
That was from the apartment.
How much?
It was $9,000 something, but that's because of the vandalism.
Did you vandalize the property?
We both did,
Why?
because I was stressed out.
Well, if you were stressed out, then you vandalized the property.
No, I mean, we did it, but I was stressed out because of everything that was going on. Me and the property management didn't get along, and
Did you live there with your mother?
No, I didn't vandalize any property. I don't know where we is coming from, but there was
Your
no-
brother talked to your mother?
He's had conversations with her.
Happy conversations?
Had conversations with her about, can
Tell me your name.
Xavier Williams. I'm the brother of Sorrel.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
When your mother was living in this apartment, where was your brother living?
He was actually bouncing out of my house sometimes maybe a month into, I believe, one of his friends, and I know my aunt for sure, but I didn't actually want to pressure him or question him too much on the matter. I just kind of heard what I heard and kind of like, just very disappointing and like just sad in a total, but Sorrel is like a good stand-up guy. Never been like this type of person. Even all the vandalism and the stuff I've seen is just insane. I would never see that from him. So even hearing that again is just kind of outrageous. So
Yeah, the whole thing is kind of outrageous.
yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
You can have a seat.
Yes, ma'am.
Xavier.
well, people go through things and they get emotional, and everyone makes mistakes, so I don't think anyone is perfect.
Well, I don't think anyone's perfect, Miss Williams. Your son, who's just starting his life, is starting his life with a mark that's going to be very, very difficult
But
for
that
him.
wasn't my intention.
What parents try to do is usually shield their children from trouble. They don't try to inflict problems on their children and try to excuse their behavior because they were stressed. The one thing that you try not to do is impose that stress on your children.
That's why I called the law firm and asked them to take him off of it.
Why don't you stop paying them?
It was only 1 month.
Why don't you start paying the law firm?
No, because-
that would satisfy. You pled guilty to the judgment. That's what you did. You acknowledged that. It says so in the documentation, that telephonically you pled guilty to breaching your lease. So my question to you is, if you work, why don't you say to the law firm, or didn't you say to them a year or more ago when this whole thing happened, I will pay you $50 a month. I'll pay you $100 a month until all of this is paid off. Can we come up with a figure? Instead, you just ignored it. And because you just ignored it, your son, who's just starting his life, is starting his life with a mark that's going to be very, very difficult
But
for
that
him.
wasn't my intention.
Whether it's your intention or not, you have the capacity to fix it. You're an adult. You work.
I don't make good money at my job, so I make enough to pay my bills. Like, I don't have extra money for that.
Well, do you have an apartment?
Yeah, and I have,
Just a second. You pay rent to your apartment?
yes,
What kind of work do you do?
a call center.
You work on a call center. Do you have to travel to get to work?
Yes.
How do you get there?
Sometimes I catch an Uber, sometimes I share ride with a coworker.
So you have money to pay an Uber to get you
Yeah,
to work.
because I have to work in order to pay
Of course.
bills.
Public transportation's not an option for you. Well, I don't know what that look means. I don't know what that look means. You have Uber and you have public transportation. What I'm saying to you is you didn't make an effort to say to the company, I will pay you. I don't care what I do. I'll get an extra job at night for the next year so that I don't encumber my son's credit since he's just starting out in life. Does that make sense to you?
Definitely.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Jones?
I'm a custom control panel builder, so I build control panels for fans for like big car washes.
How were you skilled in that job?
Yeah, I went to college at Carrington College in Arizona and did
Yeah,
an
and I
undergrad
helped him through college. I helped pay for his college.
I did an undergrad program at Carrington College, and I graduated, got my certification, and then got hired through Carrington.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Did they attach your wages?
No, I don't think so.
It's not taken out.
Yeah, I don't.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see if we can forestall that happening.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for all your help. I really appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye. Okay, so he said the 3805 listed in this letter was the initial judgment for the eviction, and that was the judgment. But after that, there was the legal and late fees, the cleaning, and they had not inspected the property yet. So any damages, which there were, is how we got to the $9,931.60, which is what he's on the hook for, and his credit is going to be affected if that is not paid. There was a collection fee that was in addition, a collection fee. I asked him to break down what that $9,931 entailed. From the lease, in the lease agreement, there's a fee for if it has to go to collections, it's a set fee. $2,837 and change was the collection fee, in addition to the 3805. That was just the initial number of what they were charging her for the eviction, which got increased after they did the walkthrough of the apartment and saw damage, cleaning, repairs, legal, and late fee. So all in, it's $9,931.60, and if that gets paid, plaintiff is clear in his credit.
And we can pay that directly to this firm.
I did not ask that question.
Well, let's find out.
Okay. Be right back.
Sort of outrageous. Problem, Mr. Jones, is that I really don't think it's appropriate for me, for the court, or even my clerk, to negotiate with the collection agency, because you can usually negotiate with them to reduce the amount if you pay it up front.
Right.
But I don't think it's appropriate for me to do that if the amount that would be satisfied by the judgment is $9,931. Court will issue the check directly to them on your behalf. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, is that satisfactory to you?
Yes.
Just go back and check for me, will you? That was $9,931.60?
Yep. Yep.
She's pretty persuasive, Sarah.
Yes.
So what did you work out, Ms. Rose?
You can either send a check directly to this address at the bottom, or they could do a card or check by phone.
93160 will clear there.
60 will clear
Will
his
clear
credit.
his credit.
Yes, and it'll be wiped from his history.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We'll take care of your credit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was a really fair decision.
For them to bring me and sue me when he agreed to help me.
I'm very excited about it being removed off my credit.
You know, how much I've done for them and how ungrateful they are for what I've done for them.
She just came in later and used me for the situation to try to get a leg up.
It's divided our family.
Eventually, maybe I'll be able to mend it, but I don't think so.
I want to get my family back.
Thank you, Judy Justice.
So I don't think debt collection offices get calls very often of, I'd like to pay this in full. He was very helpful. And when I said, this is Sarah Rose, I'm a law clerk for Judge Judy Shineland, he goes, the Judge Judy? As in, this is gonna be on TV? This is awesome. And I'm gonna get paid. This is the best day ever. And so he was having a great day. So I'm just glad. I did feel bad for the plaintiff. You know, your own mother takes advantage of you, and your credit is forever affected. And at 21, that's a tough
And
thing.
he works and he went to school.
Seems like an upstanding guy. And so I'm glad we were able to clear the debt. And I also confirmed that once this gets paid, it'll be taken off his record. It won't be a lingering factor in his
Well, we'll make
life
sure
any
of that.
longer. Yeah.